Okay, so this is the question. Are people's responses to karma and guilt different? Karma and guilt being the same thing. Well, of course they would be. The relationship to karma and guilt coming up, like the situation where one feels guilt that one hasn't been true, or a karmic situation unfolding where maybe a partner is behaving in a disagreeable manner, and one just wants a peaceful life. One doesn't want to be disturbed by stuff from a partner, whatever it is. How one deals with this is a reflection of the main factor is the level of spiritual evolution, and whatever mechanisms one has used to develop and evolve to meet life as these guilt and karmic situations arise. So the higher the level of consciousness, um, uh, you see what's happening with your karma in the early days when you've got a very low level of consciousness, you're very identified with stuff from the world. When I say stuff from the world, your personal world and the external world. So your own thoughts and body and stuff, you're very highly identified, and you get highly identified with stuff from the seemingly outward world, people, places, and situations. So when you're very identified at a low level of consciousness, this stuff hits you very, very hard. And it seems like a lot of spiritual work to disidentify, to get to that place of lightness where the light of consciousness starts to become apparent. So at low levels of consciousness, you get a pain in your stomach or your back, or you get a partner saying something in a way you dislike, and it hits really, really hard. It's hard to let go of those thoughts. The feelings that come up seem to be very heavy, and you do whatever mechanism you're using, the Course in Miracles, 12 steps, step 10s, whatever it is, the observer. It seems to be like you're doing hours and weeks of work just to try and let that stuff go and get some detachment from it. So yes, so while you're still quite new to spirituality and you're still very identified with your body, your thoughts and externals, where they have a lot of meaning and value to you, then it will seem like a person who gets hit by this stuff will be seems to be suffering an extreme amount and doing a lot of spiritual work and not getting much relief. As one becomes more evolved, A Course in Miracles, praying for a miracle to see the world, to see your body, to see your thoughts, to see others differently. Also, just as you get to high levels of consciousness, your identification with the world, I mean, your inner thoughts, body, feelings, and the outer seeming characters, it is just much, much lighter. So when these karmic interactions or guilt interactions arise in consciousness, it's much easier to shake them off. Oh, I just did the observer for 5 seconds and it's gone. I can't remember what it was. Or I just prayed to the Holy Spirit for a miracle and I suddenly saw there was nothing really to feel guilty about and it's gone. So as you get to these more evolved levels, you're not that identified anyway, but you've done the spiritual work. So you've earned that. You've earned that you can shake it off very easily because now, if you like, you've dealt with the heavy identifications through years of spiritual practice. So you've earned it that you can shake things off very easily. So it is a lot easier as you get higher and you get much better at accepting things and seeing things on a spiritual context. From the lower levels of consciousness, everything is seen from the ego personal context. And as you get to higher levels of consciousness, you're dissolving the idea that there is a ego's personal consciousness and there is other things that is affecting an individual. So that's all starting to dissolve into a more how would I say it? A more limitless uh, eternal experience. Yes, timeless, limitless, eternal experience. So so yes, the experience is very different. Now you've got to also remember, because I like to share about it, is that people have past lives as well. So, even understanding past lives is a miracle. It helps you to see things differently. So, oh my goodness, my partner seems to be really, really difficult and seems to be doing all this stuff. And then if you do past life hypnotherapy, you see you behave exactly the same way towards your partners. So it helps you to see it differently that actually by forgiving my partner, I'm forgiving myself for what I used to inflict on others. So all these miracles happen. You start to see things differently, shake them off, not get so heavily identified. Also, because you've done years of spiritual work, this stuff doesn't come up very heavily because you've done the work to loosen it up. There's not, as Hawkins would say, the stack of feelings, the stack of unforgiveness has been reduced to a large extent. So you are, in a sense, a very forgiving person, a very light-hearted person. You tend to take things less personally because you don't see yourself so much as a person. So things, it's like you wear the world more like a loose garment at higher levels of consciousness. Now, it can be actually as well that in some phases of your life you are finding it easier to be at a high vibration and some lower. But that's generally how I'd see it. I would not compare yourself to other people. You could suddenly have a resentment against your, I don't know, resentment with the ache in the body or a partner, and it seems to take you weeks to get rid of it. And someone else in a group you attend to gets rid of it in a day. I wouldn't compare yourself because there's so many things you cannot see as to how much work they've done, what the situation, what the context is there. So it's best not to compare. Okay, and